This is The Speaking Show. I'm David Newman, and you're tuned in to the #1 podcast for speakers, consultants, and experts who want to speak more profitably. Welcome to another episode of The Speaking Show. My amazing, incredible guest is Becca Tracey from the Uncaged Life.com. Welcome to the show.
Yay. Hi. Thank you for having me.
So you've got a cheeky website. You really put your personality totally out there. Maybe that's a great place to start, because I know you work with a lot of coaches, life coaches, health coaches, business coaches, solopreneurs, in helping them take their offline business online. Are a lot of them afraid to sort of fly their freak flag and show their authentic personality? And we'll start right in the middle of that hot and heavy debate about, should we be doing that, or is that scare people, or is it good to scare people? Or
do I scare people? I don't feel like I scare people, but who knows? Maybe people are scared by me. I have tattoos, so maybe people are scared by that. But I don't know. I think that the thing that a lot of my clients come to me with is that they don't know how to put themselves out there. So it's like they're not sure what's okay. Many of them come from corporate backgrounds. So I work with a lot of folks who are quitting their corporate job to become a life coach or become a health coach. And so they're kind of used to being buttoned up. And they're just, once they get out into this world where they can do anything they want and they can be whoever they want, it's almost like they literally don't know. They're like, well, what's my voice? How do I find my voice? I'm like, you just write like you. But it's such a hard thing to understand when you've been kind of put in a box of something else for so long.
So let's go back. I always like to ask like really basic, fundamental, almost silly questions. The way that I guess it was Vince Lombardi, or one of these legendary football coaches, started every single season, got all the guys in the locker room, said, "Gentlemen, this is a football." No assumptions, no nothing. When we're talking about an online business, I'm some corporate executive out of IBM. I want to start a coaching business. What I think a coaching business is, I go down to the chamber, I go to the business card exchange, I shake hands, I kiss babies, I put my business card in people's hands and say, I'm a coach, I'm a life coach, I'm a career coach, I'm a health coach.
Right.
I'll help you lose weight, I'll help you do this. And I am in the offline world. When you say, hey, coaches, consultants, solopreneurs, I'm going to help you build an online business, what is that online business equivalent to, "Gentlemen, this is a football"?
Yeah. It's funny because people are like, oh, I guess, I have to become an expert at social media. And I think we kind of jump to all of these things that we think. And really, like, you can start getting clients online right away. It's about having the opportunity to share your message outside of just your local area. And there's so many different avenues that you can do that with. But having that clear foundation, and for most people, I'll say it's a website, right? Because we need a home base. Our local office space is equivalent to our website. When people come and visit us, they need to be able to see who we are and what we do and all that good stuff. Though I've seen, and you've probably seen too, lots of people build businesses without a website. I don't always recommend it, but a website's a good starting point if you want to start putting the feelers out beyond just your local area.
Let's just go down sort of the customer journey. Someone comes to you and says, "Becca, I'm going to leave my big corporate gig. I want to start out on the right foot. I need a website. I need some other sorts of things. Maybe I need some kind of program. I need some branding." What are the other foundational building blocks that your clients come to you and you say, well, I'm going to help you do step 1 and step 2? What's the progression?
So usually my clients come to me wanting to start at step 5. So they're like, all right, I need a website and I need to maybe make a funnel, and I probably have to learn Facebook ads. I need a business card or a logo. So they come with wanting all of the really shiny stuff. I am kind of like the anti-Santa Claus, where I'm like, you're not allowed to have any of those things. Come back to step 1, because there's foundational work that needs to be done first. So what I work with them on, and what every business needs to start with, especially if you're marketing online, is a clear message, a clear niche, good packages, and the ability to actually talk about what you do in a way that makes sense to people. Sounds basic. It's not as easy. It's not as easy as it sounds. And all of that is necessary in order to build a website and start to build funnels and start to actually bring in those customers from all over the world. You've got to have a clear marketing message.
So we're talking about some foundational existential questions.
Yes, it's not the fun stuff. It's not like, oh, I get to show off my website or show off my new logo. It's kind of like the nitty gritty work that no one really wants to do because it's not as tangible.
Ask you the next question here based on one of the subheadlines on your website, which is a program to help you get clear, get confident, and get clients. And the first thing you mentioned in that list just now is clarity. The reason I say it's an existential crisis is people say, well, who am I? And then the second question almost right away is, okay, once you've got that defined, who are my people? How do we get started even thinking about these clarity decisions?
In terms of messaging, I always start with what's your why? And everyone has a really selfish why for starting a business. So I don't actually really care about that. When we're talking about marketing, it's like, you want to quit your job and you hate your boss. That's fine. But in terms of the business you're starting, what do you care about? Why this business and why should your clients care? So I'm sure you've heard of or seen the Simon Sinek book, and he's got a TED Talk called Start With Why. So we kind of dive into that. It's like, what is the bigger picture behind this work? Let's build something that people can actually get behind instead of just go out there and, present a resume with a checklist of things we can do. We want to start with a deeper message.
So there's an introspection component.
Yes, there is. But then we have to tie that to something actually tangible. So then we have to look at niching and go, okay, well, who wants this? Why do they want it? I like to boil niching down to just what problem do you solve? I've seen a lot of different ways of niching and they can get kind of hairy. So I like to just strip away and say, forget about who the person is, forget about all the client avatars for a second. Let's just look at what's the problem this person has that you're really keen on solving.
I'm imagining that a lot of folks, especially the ones that tend to gravitate towards you, which is the corporate executives on the escape plan.
Yeah.
One of the big challenges is, as any corporate executive would have, they have a tremendous variety of skills.
Yes.
That's why they were a successful corporate executive, because they were not a one-trick pony. They did not just specialize in doing one thing, one way, all the time, every day. When people say, well, Becca, I just don't know. I don't know what my niche should be. I mean, I could solve people problems. I'm pretty good with technology because I'm a former chief information officer.
Yeah.
I know how to handle conflict and resolve conflict. I know how to negotiate because I did vendor contracts.
Most people have a sense of their niche. They haven't just quite drilled it down enough. But for the ones who are like, I know I'm a life coach, but I have no idea why, we usually look at their own personal story. What got them there? What was the change or what happened in them that brought them down that path? Because usually, not all the time, but most of the time, we tend to be a version of our clients, or our clients tend to be a version of us in the past. And so that's usually a good starting point, because I always want people to be working in an area that they feel confident in. It's not just about picking a niche just because it's like, oh, that one probably can make some money, go and do it, right? It has to be something that feels aligned. So I usually start with their story, and it's usually pretty quick to pick out sort of the pieces of how they got down this path, and then we can niche in from there.
And you mentioned another word, which I think is really puzzling to a lot of speakers, coaches, consultants, and independent experts, which is packages.
Yes.
And I also work with a lot of coaches and consultants who want to build up the speaking side of their business. A lot of these people, they want to charge hourly.
Yes.
It's, I'm $125 an hour. But you know what? You buy 3 hours, it's only $325.
It's too much math. It's so confusing.
So how do you get people out of the hourly thinking and into the package thinking?
I mean, when they sign my program, I just force them to. Like, we're not setting hourly prices, so get that out of your head. But I think it helps for them to see that the work that they're doing is more than just the value of the hour that they spend on the phone with someone. And they'll say, well, I guess I do some prep work and that's 30 minutes. So they still start adding up their time. And so I even encourage them to stop doing that and to look at what's the value of this end result that you're going to be getting for your client. You're helping somebody lose the last 10 pounds or finally quit their job or finally get clients in their business. Like, what's the value of that thing to the person? I'll work with like designers or copywriters who charge hourly. And I'll tell them, just because you work faster, why should you get paid less? And they're like, oh yeah. So really it's just helping people see that they're bringing all this wealth of experience to the table, and that you should be getting paid for that experience and the value, and not just the hours that you spend with someone. And it really is a shift. But once you do that, man, people double and triple and quadruple their rates because they start to see how they've been lowballing their prices.
Hey, good looking. Are you currently getting paid to speak? Would you like to ramp that up? We can help. Book a confidential speaker strategy call with our team at doitmarketing.com/call, and let's see what we might do together. The call is free, but the results may be priceless. Now, is some of this packaging based on research? Are we doing a competitive scan? Are we looking at what other online businesses are doing in our industry, in our niche, or it's really much more individual?
I try to teach it from the individual. I think there's definitely value in knowing what your competitors are doing. But when my clients come to me, they are so new and they are so in analysis paralysis and so in like compare and despair that I really encourage them to just block out what anybody else is doing and just focus on their business for this amount of time. And then once they have that and they're feeling more confident, then they can go back and poke around a bit in the competition. But I don't think it's that valuable for a starting point because I think it just draws us down too many different rabbit holes.
Yeah, no, that certainly can happen. So give me a quick example, generic, of course, if you like, or specific, but no names. Someone that came to you, because we're still on this kind of packaging topic, which to me is fascinating. They were charging hourly. They didn't know what to charge or how to charge. What's an example of a well-packaged coaching business?
So let's say there is a relationship coach and she decides to niche down into helping people who are in relationships that aren't feeling great and they're trying to figure out which direction they should take. So instead of saying, come to me and we'll work for 1 hour a week for a minimum of 3 months and then we'll just see how it goes, which is like the typical life coaching model. Instead, we created a package that was, I can't remember if hers was 2 or 3 sessions spread out over a couple weeks. And it was the should I stay or should I go package. And so the specific focus, so it's got a focus now, was helping you decide whether you should stay or go in this relationship. And it had a set number of sessions. The whole package had a set price. So it didn't have a price per session. It was like the should I stay or should I go package. It's 3 sessions. We do them over this amount of time. Here's what you're going to walk away with. And here's the total price. That's a package I like. I like to see a package that's really specific, especially for people who are starting off as in the coaching world. It can be really vague and really general. And I think new coaches miss a lot of business and miss getting a lot of clients because no one really understands what they're selling, or else they have too many options and it's too confusing. Like I said, too much math to figure out.
Right.
So something that really solves that specific problem makes a really great package. And then we put a price on the full value of that.
I'm just connecting what you said a few minutes ago about niche with packages. And I love the way that you've simplified all of this.
Yeah.
What I heard you say is when you're thinking about your niche, we're really doing a very thorough job of defining the problem that we solve. When you come up with your packages, you do a very good job of defining the outcome, like should I stay or should I go? So a defined outcome. How important is that to selling your package, as opposed to a lot of coaches say, well, just make your life better. We help you get what you want.
Yeah, results are up to you. Life coaches, if you're selling that, come to me. We're going to get you out of this. It doesn't work that well. I just think there's a lot more confidence from your clients when they see that you can actually get them to an outcome. Especially with life coaches, they tend to be hesitant of promising any type of results. I don't know. I always fight back against them when they tell me that. When they say, in coaching school, I wasn't taught, I'm not supposed to talk about results and it's not my path, it's the client's journey. I'm like, great, but they're still paying you for something. Your client's coming to you with a problem that they want solved. So you absolutely have to coach them towards that outcome. You're not coming and being prescriptive about it, but there's always an outcome, right? People aren't just giving you money for the sake of it. Like they want something out of it. So don't be afraid to talk about what that thing is and how you can help them get there.
And so that's just a direct connect between what problem do you solve, that's your niche, and then your packages.
Create a package to solve it.
It has to be well-designed, but also well-defined outcome so that people are signing up to get something.
Yeah. And you might have a few packages that solve different parts of your client's problem.
Yeah.
And so people often think, my client's problem is this, that package is going to have to be a year long. No, we can pull out smaller parts of it and maybe just do 1 session. Maybe you have a longer program, but they're going to be solving sort of different pieces of this client's dilemma. And then that way you've got different packages for different types of clients that come to you at different stages of their journey.
Right. Now, almost everything we've talked about so far, I'm just channeling our listeners. I'm channeling even my own experience with this. They're saying, well, yeah, easy for you to say, but I have no idea. And you already mentioned some of these things also. Imposter syndrome, uncertainty, fear, and even some of the coaching industry, capital C coaching, right, has done some of these folks kind of a disservice when it comes to marketing.
Yeah.
Because the things that you or I might encourage them to do in marketing, they're like, oh my God, I can't say that. I can't do that. The client has the answer. I don't have the answer. I'm not supposed to be prescriptive. I'm not supposed to push them
Right.
towards.
Guess what? You can do whatever you want because it's your business.
I guess so. But how
Yes.
do you help them address those mindset blocks?
So I actually have a mindset coach that works with me in my program. I actually come from a life coaching background, but I was never great as a coach. I like to just tell people what to do. So I was never a great life coach. So I actually have a coach that works with me in our program. And it's been a game changer since I brought her in. I can't imagine how I used to run my program and work with my clients without it, because there is so much resistance that comes up. And it's not just for life coaches. It's anyone starting a new business. They're going to hit roadblocks around messaging, around niching, around actually going out and telling people what they're doing. There's always a new roadblock to hit forever in your business, I think. And so, as you get more experience, you learn how to overcome those yourself. But we actually have a dedicated life coach that works in the program because it's so common for people to just get stuck and go, oh, well, I can't do it this way, and then stop themselves.
Do people sometimes get frustrated with your tactical assignments because of mindset challenges, but they don't recognize them as mindset challenges?
Yes.
Like, oh my gosh, no, this niche assignment is so hard. This packaging assignment is so hard. And of course, they're resisting it. They're fighting it. They're not willing to let go or be open or be coachable. How do you encourage people to utilize your mindset coach or to be more self-aware that, dude, that's not a packaging problem you're telling me about. That's a mindset problem.
Yeah.
You need to book a session.
She actually comes onto my live calls with me. So she is there coaching. So the calls are for Q&A to go over the strategy that I've taught them, but she is on there with me. And so if she smells mindset, she will pop right in and go, hang on a second. I don't think this is actually about the packages. Here's what I see is going on. And we just normalize it throughout the whole program. We talk about every module. It's like, here's where you might get stuck. Here are the things that are going to come up for you, especially things like niching. If you've gone around and you can't seem to make a decision, this is a mindset problem. It's not a strategy problem. Go talk to Erin. So we're always kind of directing people. We're normalizing it, and then we're directing them to go and host for her and actually ask her questions. And it's fascinating. I mean, the number of people who have chimed in and said, I didn't think I had mindset issues, but it's so clear now to me that this is why my business hasn't been moving forward. Things like perfectionism, people just write off as like, oh, it's just my personality. I'm a perfectionist. Things like, oh, I'm just a procrastinator. It's a mindset issue. Oh, I'm just not decisive, or, oh, I just take a long time to make these decisions. All mindset stuff. And I think it's easy for us to think that's just my personality. So we out that a lot. We talk about it. We make it normal. And I think people feel freer to actually explore the mindset avenue themselves. It's definitely a strategy-based course, but we couldn't do it without the mindset work.
What a great episode. Wowza. Tell you what, if you want to ramp up your revenue as an expert who speaks professionally, you should really check out our free online training at doitmarketing.com/webinar. Well, let me ask you, I want to kind of go behind the scenes here in the Becca Tracey entrepreneur mindset. How has your business evolved? You were a life coach, and then you weren't really crazy about that. And then I'm sure you've gone through many iterations and refinements of your offerings, your course, your team, your program. How has that evolved from maybe coaching or done with you or done for you or even agency services? I'm not sure if you do some done for you kinds of things these days, but where'd that start and how did that evolve?
Yeah, so it started with me actually as a holistic nutritionist and a life coach. And I was trying to kind of smush those two things together. And at the start, all of the coaching that I was doing was with my friends who happened to be other life coaches and other nutritionists. And the main thing that they needed coaching on was trying to figure out what they wanted to do with their lives. They were graduating from this coaching program and trying to figure out what the next steps were. So I was using my life coaching skills to help them with that. And at the same time, I was doing a little bit of online work for another company, doing some blogging and social media stuff. And so I found myself getting really excited about the business aspect of what they could do next. I was trying to smush these things together. I was like, okay, helping people with the next steps in their career, and then also the health coaching, and it just didn't make any sense. I was like a lot of my clients where they come to me with like, I'm going to do all these things. And I'm like, nobody's going to buy that. So I eventually dropped the nutrition aspect because that was really the piece of the pie that didn't make a lot of sense. And I dove into more, I didn't call it marketing and I didn't call it business coaching. I was really coming at helping people with their businesses from a life coaching angle. And it took me a couple of years of getting my own business going and building my own success to feel more confident teaching people what I had actually done. But I had my own mindset stuff for sure around teaching marketing. I was like, I don't have a marketing degree. How can I do this? So it evolved into that. And then eventually I dropped the life coaching and started doing more actual just teaching. I started one-on-one. I led some small groups. And eventually I created a group that I thought was pretty good. And so I stopped doing everything else and now have managed to scale that group to be the thing that brings me 90% of my income.
Is that a live led group or is that like an online course plus mentorship?
Yeah, it's a live program that I run twice a year. And I just recently last year also turned it into a self-study option. So if you miss out on the live launch, you can do it on your own as a self-guided course.
And this is so funny, of course, because we all have this challenge as coaches and consultants and online business owners. I'm guessing this happens to you a lot. People come into your program. They see all this amazing organization and structure and, here's the course and we're on Zoom and there's a whole team of coaches and and they say, Becca, I want a business like yours, because that's what they're experiencing right there in the moment.
Yeah.
Not that they're going to copy your content, but that becomes the predominant business model that's in front of them all the time.
Yeah.
Do you encourage that? Do you discourage that? How do you help them say, no, this works for me at my stage of the business. It will not work for you.
I just really get them focused on those beginning steps, the messaging, the niching, the packages. And I always encourage them to start with one-on-one. I tell them about how I started, what I was charging. Like, I'm super open about all of that because I think it's important. I think not enough people are open about it. So I always encourage them that they can run groups, they can create online courses. All of that is possible, but they have to nail these foundations first. None of that is going to work until they've got these beginning steps. So I just try to reel them in and go, great to have big dreams. Just stay one step at a time here. Stay with me.
Right. And so in between that, you do 2 launches a year?
Yeah.
And then the course is always available.
And the course is always available. Yeah.
What else do you do in between those 2 launches?
I travel and don't work. I live my uncaged life.
You mean you have a life like it says on your website?
I do, yes. I probably travel about 5 months of the year, ish. 5 depends on what you call traveling. But yeah, I'm usually away about 5 to 6 months of the year. I'm online. I'm minorly working, but I'm certainly not working anything near full-time hours.
This is a fabulously rich vein of
Yeah.
I ask my clients and I ask my friends this all the time. It's 2 questions. They're always partnered together in my mind, which is, how much do you want to work and how much money do you want to earn? And how much is enough? And when will you know that you're in your happy place? So how do you make that decision for yourself personally? And then how do you advise your clients? I'm sure your clients have this question a lot. Like, wow, 5 months traveling, working a couple hours a day if I feel like it, 7 months of, grinding it out, but then 5 months off. That would be great. How do we address that? How busy do you want to be? How much money do you want to make?
Yeah. So for me, it's always been more about the how busy do I want to be, which is the answer is not very, not very. And so it's always been more focused on that, which meant, as I grew my business, I had to figure out how to still bring in enough income, whatever that meant to me at the different stages, and still have this time off. And I played with lots of different ways of doing that. Definitely now what's cool is that for a couple of years, I was kind of settled. I was like, I wasn't in a growth phase. I was running my 2 launches. I was traveling the rest of the year and it was fine. I was like, I'm living the life. This is great. Recently, since I've decided that I could scale more and I could help more people with what I'm doing, I decided to turn the program into evergreen, which meant I needed to hire a full-time team member because there was a lot of stuff happening behind the scenes with that running and that needed to be taken care of. And I didn't want to do it. So for me, it's always been about maintaining my lifestyle and then figuring out how to build my business around that. If I wanted to make way more money, I could do it very easily. It would involve just staying home and working more. I have lots of ways I could scale my program that could bring in more revenue, but I just haven't been willing to do them because that's not the most important thing to me.
That is such a highly evolved answer. Because seriously, you talk to most online businesses and pick a number, add some zeros, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
They're at $5,000 a month. They want to get to 10. They're at $10,000 a month. They want to get to 20. I ask these kind of folks, I say, well, how much is enough? When you're making 1 million, do you want to make 2? Where does it stop? And there's also a point, as you well know, in entrepreneurship, where your revenue goes up and your profitability or your take-home pay goes down.
Yes. Yeah. I'm experiencing a bit of that now because now that we've got Megan on our team full time, and we're going to have to hire someone else too to support her. So we're at about 500,000. We're hoping to go to 1 million next year. But the cool thing is I don't have to sacrifice any of the way that I like to work in order to do that. And so that's been kind of the fun challenge for me is like, if we made $1 million, that would mean I could hire another full-time team member. We could hire coaches to support our students. Like there's just so much more we could put back into the business. Number one, it's fun for me because I kind of like playing with money. And I think it's fun to be like, could I be $1 million business? That's cool. Let's see how we could do that without me working more. And it lets us put a lot back in. I was steady for a long time and that was okay. And then it got kind of exciting of like, let's see what's possible, but I'm not willing to sacrifice what I think a lot of business owners do end up sacrificing to get there. So let's see if we can make that work. And if we can't, then that's fine. Yeah, my lifestyle will always be more important.
Let me ask you about the crack cocaine of the online marketing world, which is
Ooh.
paid advertising.
Yes.
Do you do paid advertising? How much paid
Yeah.
advertising? How do you balance that? Because that expense can run out of hand really quick.
We run Facebook ads. We hire an agency to do it for us. I have never touched them, wouldn't know how to do it if I tried. And we tend to ramp them up for our launches, for sure. Some list building and some lead generation right before the launch and then retargeting ads during the launch. But now that we have our self-study program, it makes sense to be running ads all year round in between to get people into those funnels. So that's a new thing that we've kind of experimented with over the last 6 months between our last 2 launches. I wouldn't say, I don't know what's a lot. It doesn't feel risky what we're putting in, and we have seen a return. So far it's working well and we're going to keep doing it. But yeah, we haven't experimented with much other paid ads. We might poke around Pinterest a little bit, but that's cheap right now. So I think paid ads are great. I mean, but you have to have the funnels in place. You have to have a proven product. You have to have the systems in place in your business to support the new leads that you're generating. So I usually advise my clients to hold off until they've got the rest of their structure in place. And then once it's all working, then they can bring in some paid ads.
Am I correct in that once the business has the clarity, the foundation, the packaging, the niching, the articulation, the mindset, that's sort of where they get off the bus? Or do you walk them through the funnels, the ads, the webinars?
I kick them off my bus. They get off the bus and I go into my camper van and go rock climbing for the year. So I had a lot of my students, mostly they say like, how can we work with you next? What's the next thing? And again, this is where I could create a high level mastermind like that and fill it. But I don't want to have to be doing calls every month. I don't want to have to be tied to the success of my students throughout the long term. It's not where I'm at. So I send them off. I've got lots of great referrals and other programs for them. But yeah, that's where they get off my bus.
I just love the clarity. Talking to you, it's like you just know who you are. You know what game you're playing. You know how to best serve your clients.
Yeah, I experimented a lot though. So I'm in year 8 or 9 of my business. And I offered everything you could possibly want to offer. I've offered memberships and retreats and high-level one-on-ones and online courses. I've kind of played around with all the different models. And it took me some time to really tweak and figure out what would work. Not saying that won't change in the future, but where I'm at now, it's feeling pretty good.
Right. Now, I'm also curious because your whole website, your web presence, your ads, and I think I may have actually come across one of your Facebook ads. That's why we're talking right now.
Yeah.
Beautiful design, just gorgeous, responsive, big, bold,
Thanks.
filled with your personality. I'm also guessing that some of your students go, oh, Becca, can you do my website? Can you do my branding? Can you do my design? The whole done for you /
Yeah, I've never done for you services. That's not true. I've done a little bit. I did some VIP days. I would map out a content plan. So I would come up with like opt-in lead magnet ideas and blog post titles and sort of a content outline, like a content plan. But beyond that, I've never been I don't know how to do many things in my business. If you ask me to go do something in my website, I don't really know how. So yeah, I'm not a super techie person. I wish I was. I'd love to have those skills. I think it would be amazing. But yeah, it's never been my bag. And so that's what I tell them, my students feel like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to learn how to do a billion things. And I'm like, well, you are, but also you can outsource it. Like you don't have to know how to do all the things. Yeah.
Yeah, really great. Well, as we're wrapping up, I've got 2 final questions for you. The final question I'm going to ask you here in a minute is how do people get connected and stay connected to more of your awesomeness and get the whole Becca Tracey empire? But the second to last question before we get to that is if folks were to take one key business building idea from our conversation today, what would you hope that idea would be?
Something around the mindset piece, even though I'm not a mindset coach, but I think it's so important to notice that if you've been like spinning your wheels in your business and trying things or doing a lot of work behind the scenes and waiting until it's perfect before you launch, just take note that that might be a mindset issue. And I really encourage you to get into action sooner, because that's how you're going to get the clarity and get the clients and get the money coming in. The kind of behind the scenes planning and the overthinking and all of that doesn't usually get people very far. Less planning, more action.
Yeah, I love that. Hashtag no overthinking.
Yes.
No overthinking.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm the queen of that. I send out emails all the time with typos and people are like, don't you care? I'm like, not really. Get it out there. Just ship it. Get it out the door.
Get it done.
Get it out the door.
Get it done.
Yeah, exactly.
So the uncagedlife.com, that is one place to go.
That's the website.
What
Yes.
do people need? We're going to link up all of these goodies here in the show notes when you go to thespeakingshow.com right under this episode. Where can we send people? What goodies can we give them?
So I have a pre-recorded webinar that is great if you're getting started and you're like, ooh, I think maybe I don't have these foundations and I've started at step 5 instead of step 1. If you go to the uncagedlife.com/get-clients, that'll lead you to that webinar training. Super useful. I walk through my whole system that I teach in Uncage Your Business in kind of bite-sized pieces to just get you started. And then I have a great Facebook group also. I love my Facebook group. They're fantastic. There's 14,000 people in it now, I think, all different types of online business owners at different levels. That is called Uncaged Lifers, and anyone's totally free. Anyone's welcome to join.
Wow. Very, very cool. Okay. So again, the links for all of those goodies are under this episode when you go to visit thespeakingshow.com. Becca, Tracey, such a pleasure to have you on. This was a great, great episode.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. So fun that I think we connected through my Facebook ads. So the power of paid ads.
That was $10. Totally worth
well spent.
it. Totally worth it right there.
Totally.
That $1 per sign up, money well spent.
Yes, thank you so much for having me.
Well, that wraps up another episode of The Speaking Show. Hey, tell you what, if you like us, rate us and review us on iTunes. Subscribe. Tell a friend. Go grab the notes and downloads and extras at thespeakingshow.com. See you next time.